Welcome to another episode of the Manhood podcast. Today I am joining you solo. So this is going to be my second solo podcast of this season of the Manhood podcast. And today I'm wanting to drop in with you and share with you my journey of my Muay Thai professional fight that happened just about 3 weeks ago now, back in Thailand. I've now just landed in Los Angeles, California. And I've been out for my run for the day, and it just landed for me that now is the time to share this, and it was going to be a great chance to integrate it. And also it's come into my awareness through my family members and some of my community of like, what's Greg doing? Like, why is he fighting for? What's the meaning behind this? And even questioning, have I somehow lost it? So I thought this would be a great opportunity to share with you the meaning of why I wanted to step into a professional fighting ring, why I'm training myself in martial arts as a man, and the benefits that I'm getting out of it. So if you do know me, if you know me more personally, you know that everything I do, there's always a deeper meaning behind it. You know, sometimes on the surface, you might see me running, or you might see me out in nature, or you might see me, in this case, in a fighting ring or DJing. Each one of those things that I've followed have been something that's very exciting for me, that's added a lot of passion to my life. And it's always been with a deeper intention of, like, for the DJing, it was about adding play, it was about adding excitement, it was about how can I express myself and meet people deeper and also enjoy the music. But it's always about this inner evolution for me and how can I grow as a man. And thus, this is exactly what this podcast is for, the Manhood. The Manhood podcast is about us growing and about sharing that information. So it's perfect today to share with you about my Muay Thai journey and why martial arts. So as I've journeyed through many different modalities of exercise over the years, I've done running, I've done rock climbing now, I've done free diving, I've done long distance running, I've done adventure racing, which is like where you're hiking, you're also whitewater rafting and riding bikes over 500 kilometers with a team of 4 people through the wilderness. Anyway, all of these different modalities that I've trained in, they've led me to this point now of seeing that martial arts is a really powerful evolution system for men, and that it takes on mental, emotional, spiritual evolution opportunities are spread all through this modality. And for thousands of years, men have used martial arts not only to keep their bodies fit and their minds sharp, but also to train their emotional bodies, to train their nervous system so they can handle and regulate stress better, and fundamentally so they can show up in the world the way that they want to, that they can show up consciously, and to be able to have the power to be able to make a difference when they need to. And a lot of the time, people maybe misunderstand martial arts, but martial arts is a journey of building the power within ourselves, but with the hope of never actually having to use it. So becoming potentially a very dangerous person in terms of having the ability to use our power to be able to bring damage to somebody potentially, but never actually wanting to use that, because the other side of martial arts is actually a self-mastery and coming to peace with oneself, and that we never see another as the enemy, but that the enemy, if we want to call it an enemy, is about us beating ourselves, is about becoming a better version of ourselves. And whenever we have a trigger with somebody externally, or there's something happening external from ourselves that is triggering us, it's usually a part within us that we need to take responsibility for and to bring self-mastery to. And martial arts is a very powerful way of working through the layers and coming to that deeper level of self-responsibility for your life, claiming it fully and showing up fully with your full power. And then, as a side note, as a very small part of martial arts, having that power within, that if you ever did need to use it, that you could bring peace to a situation by closing it down or shutting it down, because you have more certainty and confidence within yourself, because on a primal level you've taken yourself to the edge, to that high intensity situations again and again of being in the ring with somebody, or in conflict with somebody, or fighting with somebody else, that it's more normalized in your body, so you can actually down regulate and solve situations without them being as violent. And then as the last case, you might need to hurt somebody or at least pacify them for that moment for the greater good, for supporting somebody else. But that's not the point of martial arts. It's actually about self-mastery system. And that's why I'm following it. And that's why I fought this professional fight that you might have seen, Muay Thai in Thailand, just about 3 weeks ago from now. So I'm going to walk you through my story just so you can understand where I'm coming from, and then speak to some of the reasons why I'm following this path and what I got from that fight and the 2 months of intense training leading up to that. So for a long time, I have this sense that I've built over the years of just knowing when there's a certain path for me. Yes, I get an excitement from it and I'm excited to follow it more, but it's deeper than that. I know when there's like a hidden gem for me within a particular path. And I spoke about the different things I've done in the past, like DJing, like adventure racing, like running marathons, and martial arts is the same. I have known from the beginning that there's something deeply in this for me that is going to support me greatly in my up leveling as a man, and that it's going to make me a better father, that it's going to make me a better leader. And I'm in the work of men's work and supporting men with their wellness. And I knew that there was gems and gold for me in this area as well. So for a while, I've known that this is something important for me to follow, and I've been training it and I've been moving it forward. But I knew for me to, at least with my personality, knowing myself quite well by now, for me to push it all the way and to become the best fighter that I could, the best martial artist that I could, I knew that if I set myself a goal of doing a professional fight, that was going to take me further and deeper and access more of my resources than I probably ever would. Even if I trained for the rest of my life, I'd probably not make as much progress as what I've made in the last few months because I set myself this goal. And that's maybe not the case for everybody. That's just with me. I know the way I work, and when I set myself these sort of goals, they pay off really well. So when something works, I keep doing the same thing again and again. So I was across in Bali. Some of you may know I'm traveling around at the moment and slowly looking to set myself up here more longer term in Los Angeles, and going through that process at the moment. And as part of that, I was in Bali and getting everything wrapped up, already training Muay Thai. And I was on that side of the world and I thought, I've got this big goal that I want to travel the world and I want to train with masters in their field. I want to learn from people that have brought mastery into their life through self-evolution programs. And one of those evolution programs is martial arts, right? I've done a lot of conventional men's work and like personal development work through NLP, through breath work, through many of these powerful modalities like Tantra and yoga. But I'm looking for something different now. And I'm looking for something that for me that's integrated and bringing on different aspects of myself as a man. And that's where it really stood out for me, of the importance of me traveling and finding some of the best masters I could within different martial arts traditions. And one of the martial arts that I was training was Muay Thai. And I figured, hey, I'm on this side of the world. I'm in Asia anyway. Thailand's literally like a 2-hour flight away from Bali. So why not go to Thailand and try to track down some of the legends of Thai fighting, Thai boxing, and seeing if I can train with them. And that's what I ended up doing. I ended up traveling to Thailand. I was there, ended up being there for a month and a half. And after the first week of just hopping around from gym to gym, I ended up finding a gym that had quite a few champions that had, within the last decade or 2 decades, had done really well, had leveled up massively, and were very well connected within the fighting scene of Muay Thai. Some really deep, also not just being a professional in terms of like the fighting and being really good fighters, but I was really interested also in the man and the men that I was going to be around, because we can learn a little bit from people when they're teaching us, but we learn even more from their embodiment and who they are deep within themselves. So whenever I'm looking to learn from somebody, I'm not just looking at what they're showing me on the surface and what the skills they're teaching me are, but I'm more interested in the person who's teaching me, because that's ultimately what I want to learn from, is their decades of experience that they've compiled into themselves in that moment, in their body, and they're living and they're breathing it. And how can I be alongside of these people and somehow learn what they've learned in 30 years and take that and learn it now in this moment, or at least speed up my progress to learn in this moment. So it's exactly what I did. I ended up training with Ku Rong, who is an epic man. I'll pop all his details down below so that if you ever want to train, you can connect in with him. But he's really about building culture, passing this tradition of Muay Thai on to the next generation, because to the Thai people, Muay Thai is more than just fighting. It's a lifestyle. It's a part of their spiritual journey. It's like part of their culture. And if you don't know about Thailand, it's one of the few places around the world that has never actually been taken over by another country. And they were able to use this Muay Thai, this formation of this martial arts, to actually defend off and hold off any invasion of their country. So not only is this something that's deeply rooted into their culture, but it's something that they have a lot of respect for, and something that every weekend through Thailand, there's like hundreds of fights happening. And then they don't hold the same weight or the same belief system around fighting as a lot of the Western world. It's seen as maybe evil or wrong, or people of losing control. But not for everybody, but in the right places, fighting in Thailand is about self-mastery. And there's actually a lot of respect involved, where before a fight, you're friends with the person that you're going to fight with. During the fight, obviously there's rules and regulations and structures, and there's also respect within the ring. But yes, there's fighting and there's violence there. But then after the fight, often the fighters will be bowing to one another and actually congratulating each other on the fight. And it's really, when it's done well and in the right scene, it's about self-mastery as the person, and not about beating the other person, not about needing to destroy the other person, which, I think the West and where we come from, whenever it's fighting, because people haven't been there for themselves, it's usually out of hatred, out of fear, out of like wanting to actually really hurt the other person. So yeah, very different relationship. So Thailand, landed there, got into this gym, and as soon as I landed, I had been planning on doing a professional fight for a while, which I already shared with you about. But as soon as I landed in this gym, I was offered the opportunity to fight professionally. They saw my size and my athleticism, and I've been training for a couple of years now on and off Muay Thai, so I have the foundations, and they thought that I was prepared and ready to fight if I wanted to. And straight away there, I realized this is going to be an amazing opportunity. And after going to a couple of fights and watching some of my fellow gym dwellers fighting, the people that I was training with, seeing them fighting on the weekends, I realized that this was life offering me an opportunity to fast track my goals that I had set for myself, that I thought maybe my first professional fight might be in like 3-4 months, but instead I found myself like having it there right in front of me. And the opportunity was, I get to show up for myself out of self-love and follow through on something that I know I'm actually going to get great benefit out of. And I'll let you know more of that as we go along, and I'm going to delve into that. The next week after following being invited into this fight, to begin with, I said, I'm just going to sit with it and let myself think. But this was a huge emotional roller coaster for me for this next week, as different fears started to rise for me, like the fear of death, the fear of being punched in the face, the fear of me hurting somebody else. All of these fears that are really ingrained into us as me as a man, that I've realized over the years. And this is one of the reasons that I wanted to approach this, because I know wherever there's fears, there is power that's ready to be tapped into. So I knew that there was going to be fears that came up, and this was the first part of this initiation. Even before I said yes, just even knowing I had the opportunity was an opportunity for me to go within myself and to have all of these different emotions arise, that I could start working through them and navigating through my internal emotional world, so that I could clear out this skunk and this stuff that wasn't intrinsically mine, and that I could step through the other side being a more powerful individual, more in control of myself, having more of that power online. So that was the first process of like a week of some nights I wasn't sleeping, because I was literally having different visions going through my mind. I was using a lot of breath work. I was doing a lot of journaling. Luckily, I've got all these different tools from my training and from the tools that I support other men with to work through myself with. And I know I'm a very sensitive guy. I tune in very deeply, and I'm very aware of the different emotions and thoughts that move through me. So sometimes it's like having the volume turned up on 10 on the things that it seems like a lot of other people can switch off to, because I also had a lot of guys around me who were fighting that almost some, maybe their less sensitivity allows them just to jump in the ring, switched off from a lot of that stuff that I was going through. But anyway, with my experience, this first opportunity was to break through all of this fear. And after about a week of this, I landed in a space of like, it was a full yes in my body. I had done what I needed to do in terms of the initiation, and I realized that this was life offering me an opportunity to go all in, and it was providing me with something that was really going to support me. So yeah, then I started training 24 hours a week, 2 hour sessions, 2 sessions a day. So it was intense. It was really going deep and finding every last little bit of motivation within me and structuring my life to the nth degree that, getting up in the morning, getting all my nutrition in, making sure my sleep was right, getting myself down to the gym, training for 2 hours, riding home. And then I was really grateful to have my business online and my mission online, because it was supporting to balance myself, that I wasn't just in the fighting container and getting caught up in it so much. I had something to polarize that energy. So during the middle of the day, I was working, I was seeing clients, I was taking calls and moving things forward with my business, my podcast, and so on. And then in the afternoon, I'd go back for another 2 hours of training. And then at night, come home, wash all my stuff and start again. And this was 6 days a week. And on Sundays, full rest. But that started this deep initiation of like, when you push yourself to the limits as a man, to that edge of your capacity, this is where you really find yourself, in my experience. And this is why I do so much physical activity like this, so much exercise, because I find states of consciousness and I realize things about myself that I don't normally have access to in my everyday waking state. And this is exactly what went on for the 4 weeks of hard, intense training, getting ready for the competition every day, going through deeper layers of emotion every day, passing past the old level of what my capacity was physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually, just becoming more aware of myself, who I am, and making sense of myself as a unique individual in this world, what my genius is and what I have to share with the world. So that was a massive growth opportunity, the 4 weeks lead up. And then the final opportunity for me to choose this journey and to be all in and to trust myself was on the night of the fight. So just before the fight, standing around the ring and having my hands wrapped and my gloves put on and getting rubbed down with oil. They rub you down with oil to loosen your body up so you're ready and you're not pulling any muscles during the fight. And I realized that actually who I was going to be fighting was somebody that had much more fighting experience than me. The original person that I thought I was meant to fight had pulled out and wasn't there. And I ended up fighting with somebody who had much more experience, and I knew that. I saw his whole support team who was next to me and speaking about strategies of how he could beat me and looking at my weaknesses and speaking this through. He was a really great guy. I can't say much about his team, but this was an opportunity also for me of going, all right, I'm here. And this real deep realization, this is a really deep life lesson, that sometimes in life, it's not about winning and it's not about losing. And so people get so caught up on winning and losing. If you're not going to win, don't even try. I had a good understanding that I could very easily lose this fight, that this guy had more experience than me, but I knew in my body that it was the right thing for me to step into the ring, to show up for myself and to move through that fear. And it comes to that point of going like, no matter what, whether win or lose, I know this is the right path for me. And this is something that shows up in my life again and again and again of, it's not about me winning or losing, but the path is still the truth for me. It's still about me walking through these steps, because what I'm going to gain for this, what I'm going to gain from me saying yes to this and walking this path is going to give me much more than just winning would ever give me. Yeah, winning might be a short-term dopamine hit and it's great and your ego feels amazing and people celebrate you. But the real win is you showing up for it fully and moving through it fully and taking all the lessons from the journey, because they stay with you for life. And that's what I ended up doing in this situation. I mustered all of my courage. I dropped into my breath. I regulated my nervous system. and I started using my positive programming, my affirmations, the things that I had prepared myself for that night to get myself in peak state so I was ready to go. I jumped in the ring, and I'll let you look through my social media to see exactly what happened. I'm not going to speak through the fight, but yeah, the result was that I didn't end up winning the fight, but by being in there, by stepping out of the ring on the other side and feeling fully empowered and feeling empowered of myself, empowered of my choices, and empowered to show up for my truth, I won. I won so much bigger than one fight would ever be. And of course, it's not even about beating the other person, as I said before, in martial arts. It's about beating ourselves, beating our old PB and what we think our limits are, expanding them for ourselves, yes, but also expanding our limits so we can show up for the people that mean the most to us. We can show up for the things in life that mean the most for us, and we can show up for our mission, the thing that sets our heart on fire, that we have the courage within ourselves to be able to step through the adversity and the challenge that life faces us when we're getting to the edge of our limits, and we go and do it anyway because it's important enough to us. These are the things that are built up when men face challenges like this, and they put themselves in a situation where they can train themselves. They learn to overcome adversity, and they learn to do what's right for themselves and those around them, and do what's true for themselves no matter what. No matter even if there's a chance of them losing or getting hurt or all the things that the mind could be afraid of. So I'm going to speak through some of the reasons why I went through this process. I'm now out the other side. I'm integrating it all, and I know that there's a really important part for me of the work that I do and the mission that is a large part of my life of really serving men. A huge part of my life is wanting to help men with their wellness, about blowing this upper limit of what we think wellness is. I feel for a lot of men, accepting less in life has become the normal, that being well for men is just being okay is good enough. Whereas I don't think a lot of men even realize what is available for us in life. And my passion is wanting to blow the lid off of that and get men really in touch with their life, what they truly want, and living their best version of themselves for themselves. But also I know that when men live the best version of themselves, they create really powerful, safe environments for the family and for their community. And men have a lot of power. Men have a huge importance in our society, and we need our men to be strong, to be centered, and super powerful. I've been through my own journey. I was suicidal like 10 years ago from now, and I made myself the promise that I would show up for the people that I could. If I got through this, that I would use everything in my power and teach everything that I learned on my journey to help men. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm 10 years down, and there's been many different journeys. I've been on many different modalities, and I'm helping men. So this is an extension of that. I know that if I want to support men and lead men into a certain direction, that I have to go first. You know, leaders go first. We can't lead somebody up a mountain that we haven't climbed ourselves. And this mountain is an internal mountain. It's a mountain of facing the fear of death, facing the fear of being punched in the face, facing the fear of conflict. And that's something that a lot of men have. And some are able to speak about it, others aren't able to speak about it. Some in those sort of situations get more aggressive, and they use their anger to cover up their fear because they're actually afraid inside, like a little boy afraid of being hurt. So instead they cover up, and they're actually the angry one to begin with. Other men pull back and make themselves smaller to avoid conflict. And this is a huge mountain to climb for men, to find their strength, to learn how to wield this strength in artful ways, to be the master over this power that is within them, so that also they're not finding themselves in situations that when they're triggered, all of this power comes out without them being able to control it, right? Because if we don't bring mastery to this part of ourselves, this primal, powerful part of us that can bring damage to another person, can create a lot of force and a lot of power, then this can end up controlling us. If we repress it and make it wrong, and we never give ourselves spaces to be able to practice this as men, then we can find ourselves that when we are triggered, when the anger does come through, that we don't even know how to negotiate the situation within ourselves. And a lot of men, that I've heard that have been through these experiences, and I've experienced this a little bit in my life, not much, luckily, but going just like red and only being able to see red and just unleashing that power. And sometimes on the people that they don't even want to, like friends or family, whether it's through verbal or physical violence. So the safest way is for men to actually approach this, to go into this for themselves in safe environments like a fighting community, like a gym, where there's rules, where there's pads, where there's an agreement on what we're doing there, and to learn to access anger, learn to access this power, and learn how to bring mastery over it so they can use it if they need to, when they need to, for the right situations, when they need to create safety and protect others, rather than it just coming out whenever, because they don't have control of it. And ultimately, people that don't, reason why they don't go into this and face this anger and this fear is because they're afraid of facing it. So that the more courageous thing is for us to actually go in and face this inner beast that we all have as men, and to learn how to use it for good, to learn how to channel this power through our heart so that we can become a full integrated man. While we're afraid to look at something within ourselves and we force it down, when we push it away, and usually when we do this, a telltale sign of as if we're doing this is if we're judging other people and making other people wrong. Might have come up for you when you were watching my fighting video, like, why is he doing this? Whoa, he's out of control. Oh, wow, this guy's a violent guy. Or you might say this when you're watching the UFC or whatever, like, whoa, these people are out of control, or they're just reckless, or that judgment is sometimes and usually actually parts of ourself that we haven't owned, lack of understanding. And also as part of that, when we haven't owned something in ourselves, because we haven't accepted it in ourselves, we judge other people. And when we know we've healed something is when we're not judging other people anymore, but when we actually have compassion on them. So even if we were to see somebody fighting in this situation, that instead of judging them and making them wrong and having anger towards them, if we were integrated in this for ourselves, we would see compassion on the other person, realizing that this might not be the best behavior, but for some reason they're doing this, they've lost control, and they've probably had violence against them in the past. We start thinking differently when we have integrated this for ourselves. And this is just something that we can observe within, wherever we're judging others is usually where we're judging ourselves when we haven't integrated this. Full circle round, men's work, wanting to empower men to be the best version of themselves. The best version of men is when they're fully integrated, they love themselves fully, and they love all parts of themselves, including this primal part that is there whether we like it or not. And we need to own that power rather than it owning us, and sometimes destroying our life if we don't own it. So that's one reason that I did this journey, is I'm wanting to lead men deeper and deeper on their journeys. And I see the importance of this in our communities. And I'm wanting to be surrounded by strong men, that if my partner and my child's walking down the street, that I know that there's men that are in integrity within themselves, they're safe within themselves because they've done this journey themselves. And they also have the ability to create safety for the ones I love, hey? So that's one part. The second part is my own personal journey of facing my own fears of this exact same journey, this fear of being punched in the face, the fear of death, the fears that live within me from societal conditioning, and also primal fears deep down that are just always there. If you're watching this and you're a man, or if you're a woman and you're watching this, you might have noticed this in men, but there can be this conflict and this energy between men when they pass. If you see two alpha men walking along the street and you see them pass each other, there's one of two things that happen. Either they avoid eye contact because underneath there's fear and they don't want to face conflict. They've got an unhealthy relationship with what it means to have a relationship with another man. Two, that they either stare each other out, and once again, this is also an act from fear though, because underneath they're afraid, so they try to do the tough guy thing so they don't get picked on. Or three, they actually acknowledge each other like normal human beings and say hello, or hey bro, or just saying or seeing one another, acknowledging one another. And that third type of man that can do that, can acknowledge one another, is a man who doesn't feel the need to have to try to be more powerful than somebody else, because he knows he's powerful already within. He doesn't need to prove himself in front of other people. He knows he's safe within his body because he's had experiences in his life that have allowed him to experience and to know within his body that he's safe. And that's not the case for everybody. And that wasn't the case for me for many years. And I knew that I wanted to come closer in connection with men. Although I have done so much work and so many retreats with guys across the world, I could still feel some of this tension with some men, only some men. And they're the men now that I want to connect with. I want to connect with the guys that are really deeply in connection with their primal, and that they're powerful men, yes, intellectually, but also physically, mentally, emotionally, like the guys that have really stretched themselves to become the full integrated man. And I knew this was a blockage for me. So I wanted to overcome this fear for deeper connection with men. And this is exactly what it's allowed me to do. On the other side now I know what I can do. Now I've connected to my power. There's part of me that feels less and less need to protect myself from the world when I'm walking along the street. There's less part of me, I'm more alert than ever, but there's less part of me that's feeling the need to defend or be macho in any situation of needing to protect my partner, because I know within myself that if anything did ever happen, that I know that I have the power to do that. So I don't need to be on edge all the time because I'm not trying to prove it to myself. I already know it as truth in my body. So I walk differently. Also, through that transformation, and I knew this before I got into the fighting world, but by walking differently, by having more safety in our own body, and by not needing to try to protect or defend all the time, I actually knew before that it was going to allow me to draw in much less attention potentially from anybody else who's going to ever be aggressive towards me. I've heard over the years from different friends and also family members that are bouncers or security guards, that security guards can see the guys to worry about straight away from their body language, and they have an energy to them. And whether we like it or not, all the time we're putting out energetic messages to the world. We're speaking a lot more. Only 7% of our communication with the world is through our verbal language. The rest is through tonality, through body language, through the way we move. So I also knew through this journey that actually up-leveling within myself, removing any of this fear, was actually going to make me less likely ever to have to use force against another person, and that I was going to draw far less of this energy in towards me. It's such an interesting game, right? You know, you think, okay, you become a fighter and you become more aggressive, and actually that's going to be about fighting more. But no, the journey of the warrior is actually about fighting less, and is about creating safety, becoming safe within oneself, and then creating safety in one's environment, because that's when everybody thrives. When people feel safe, they thrive, and we end up benefiting, and everybody ends up benefiting when they feel safe and they can thrive, because everybody's gifts are online. Everybody can work together to build something more beautiful. And that's the point. That's the actual point of martial arts. And what I knew that I was going to get more of through following martial arts and through getting into this professional fight is knowing that I'd feel safer in my body, I'd feel less defensive, and thus I'd be able to connect in with men deeper, strangers or friends, my family members, all men, through this journey. So that's number two, second reason why this was so important for me. Also, you know, I'm stepping into wanting to become a father in the next couple of years. And on a deeper level, I wanted to know that I could, if I ever needed to, protect my family if they need it. Yes, there's one thing having the intellect of being able to avoid conflict situations in life. Yes, we want to have the emotional intelligence as men to be able to lead situations to a healthy outcome where there's no violence required. But it's unrealistic, and it's bypassy to think that in life and in the world that we live in, that we're never going to be faced by a situation where somebody might try to be violent towards us and the ones that we love. And I feel part of being a man and part of the beautiful gift that we are is that we have this power, this physical, powerful body. And I wanted to, as a man, to be able to use this for good in my life, to know that I could protect my loved ones if I ever needed to, Once again, it's not about wanting to draw that in, but if I ever needed to, so knowing that I had prepared myself, just like I had prepared myself mentally to be the sharpest I could be, to provide for them financially and with financial security and all of those other parts, emotionally, that I could be available for them and provide for them deeply emotionally, but also physically. I wanted to know within myself that I had done everything that I could to provide for them if I ever needed to on a physical level. So this is a really important part of the journey for me, and something that I feel like has been accomplished to a very deep level. Of course, things can continue to go deeper and deeper, and this journey of martial arts is a lifelong journey, but I feel like there's been a lot already accomplished on this protector and provider aspect of my masculinity through this, and a deep recognition of myself and a trust in myself through this. And from what I have experienced in the conversations with my partner Lola also, she's also experiencing even deeper levels of safety in her body, because consciously or unconsciously, we tune into the people around us. When they feel safer in their body, we feel safer. And especially in a dynamic with a man and a woman, where there's a man who feels safe in his body and he is a safe energy, women feel safe. When he feels unsettled within himself and he's in distress within himself, whether it's towards other people or himself, women are very sensitive and they feel that, and they feel less safe. So I feel this has just added another level of safety for Lola from what we have discussed so far. And we can continue this discussion as this is still integrating. It's only been 3 weeks since this big initiation, but it's beautiful to hear that. It's beautiful to see that. And there's been some huge business results that she's been able to achieve in her business. And all of these things add to that. When people feel safer, they're able to access more of their gifts and their talents. They're able to access more of their resources because they're not in survival mode. They're not needing or thinking about protecting or needing to protect themselves from life. So instead, they're focusing more on how do I thrive? They're asking far different questions of, rather than survival, what does my life thriving look like? And I believe that that's what we're seeing, the beautiful ramifications happening in our life right now. Beautiful book deals being signed and programs being filled, business growing massively, many opportunities opening up. And I listen to these signs in my life. I watch the signs and I watch the seasons pass, and I notice these things and the shifts that happen, and I follow what works. And that's what's led me to this point. So yeah, loving seeing that, loving feeling that. And that was another really important reason to be the protector and the provider for my family. And if I was choosing to bring a child into the world, that I take a very high level of responsibility for that, and me being prepared to the best of my ability. So that is a wrap. That is my experience so far. There is still so much more to share, I'm sure, that hasn't come through in this podcast. But I can see we're getting close to 40 minutes now, and I feel like that is a nice package of information to share for now, and definitely open for any questions and DMs through my social media page, and I will answer them publicly on my social media back. But yeah, it's been a powerful journey. I've learned so much through really immersing myself in this warrior's pathway. It's changed me mentally, emotionally, and physically as a man. It's allowed me to connect in deeper with my spiritual purpose, what I'm here for. And it's teaching me and it's taught me the tools that allow me to be able to balance my mind, balance my emotions, so that I can show up fully in this world and really take up space, really do what I'm here to do, fully live my life for what I'm here to live it, to walk my truth, and to have the safety in my body, to have the calmness in my mind, and the stillness in my emotions, that I can do that more and more effortlessly, that less energy is going into trying to keep afloat. Like you can imagine a duck with its feet under the water, just trying to stay afloat. Less energy is going to that, and more energy is going to just cruising along the surface, enjoying life, enjoying relationships with other people, enjoying creation, enjoying building business, enjoying helping people, enjoying following the meaningful things in my life that make my life rich, making more space and time for that, because I'm spending less of my time and less space is being taken up by inner trauma, by fears, by just confusion that happens when we have fear within our body. Because whether we like it or not, 95% of how we show up in life, the behaviors that we have, the habits that we have, the words that we speak, the relationships that we hold are actually due to our subconscious mind, the part that's operating underneath the surface all the time, that's actually controlling our life. And when we can access that and work with the subconscious mind to improve that internal landscape, the external world improves as well. And we can start to leverage that more percentage of this internal world that's controlling our life anyway, is moving us towards the goals that we want to achieve and living a happy, healthy, and fulfilled life. And that's part of what this journey has been for me. It's allowed me to integrate emotion that was stored within my subconscious mind and release that old emotion so that it no longer is taking weight. It's allowed me to release old belief systems that were holding me back and making me think smaller about myself, the people around me, and life than what they needed to. And it's expanded my mind now to the opportunities of what's next in my life and where I can take everything I've learned and to be able to invest it in blessing other people's lives and blessing my own life more. So thanks for tuning in, guys. This has been the Manhood Podcast. Looking forward to sharing more of your episodes. And on the next episode, we're going to be flowing back into having another guest. I'm excited for the guests that are on my list that we are organizing things in the background to bring to you. And as always, the Manhood Podcast is about bringing you these empowering messages and perspectives that you may not get access to in your current circle of influence. But I get to meet some really epic men on my journey. I get to meet these beautiful people that had the blessing in their life and they've been able to create a life where they're thriving financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They've got gifts to share potentially around their family, around their journey as a man with their emotions. And I get to meet these guys that inspire me, surprise me, excite me for life, and allow my mind to open up to new opportunities. And this is an opportunity for me to introduce you to these men as well, and that you get to be a third person sitting at the seat of the table, at the table with us, having your own seat and listening into these conversations so that you can learn from them and benefit from their many years of wisdom and embodiment. So hope you join for more. Thanks for joining us for this one, and I'll speak to you soon.